So if you've been watching the channel, typically the way we kind of do things over here is that I like to get on the Facebook Marketplace and even eBay, shop for deals, see if I can negotiate, haggle, and put a computer together. Most of the times we're able to get some pretty decent stuff for a good price, flip it, and make a decent profit. We like to stick with the older hardware because it's easier to get more bang for the buck on it. And some of that stuff still holds up pretty well. I mean, we have RX 580s and X99s, i7 4th gens, and those are still gaming and holding up pretty well. People like to buy it for the price point that I'm able to get it for and flip it, put a complete computer system together, and it works pretty well. Now the dark side about that is it is a gamble, as sometimes you can pick up the items or even on eBay buy the items, you get it and it doesn't work. I bought graphics cards that I popped it in, dead as a doornail. And then the problem with Facebook is that the seller could choose to ghost you and not refund you. And that's happened to me several times. You learn, you get better, you learn tips and tricks, and I've talked about that in previous videos. And even eBay, I've had that issues, and sometimes the sellers find some little sneaky ways to get around the whole eBay's return policy, but eBay's a lot better. But anyways, that is the gamble of shopping used. I was checking my email, Temu reaches out and they said, hey, we'll give you some store creds, buy some items and showcase it. Well, I put a twist to that and I made a suggestion. They agreed. I said, all right, give me $300 and I'll see if I could build a PC, specifically one designed for gaming, from your website, and we'll show how well it performs. So let's get on the website, let's see what we can find and start ordering. So Temu has a bunch of different stuff. I mean, they're not specific to like PCs or anything like that. I mean, you could just almost buy anything you're looking for. Like, I don't know, let's just say I need a drill. You got drills. You know, they have the off brands, you never heard of them. Some of them are pretty decent. I don't know. I haven't bought much from them, but I figured let's give it a shot with this whole computer thing. So I need to figure out a motherboard and CPU setup. You got some options. You got the gigabit, which is, you know, that's there. The Z790 for $233. That doesn't seem like a bad price. But we got to stay under $300, and for $300 we're not getting a Z790. So let's see, motherboard, CPU combo. We're going to start with this and then I'll show you everything else I order after the fact. Honestly, looking at it right now, just off the top of my head, we're going to probably end up with X99 action. This one seems to be popping at me. It is the X99 motherboard kit, Xeon E5 2650 V4 12 core, 8 gigs of DDR4 3200, Intel P45 chipset, rechargeable battery. Okay, so yeah, for $97 we got a motherboard, CPU, memory. As long as it comes with a backplate, we should be good to go. It's the smaller form factor, so they try to really encourage you. Only a few left, add to the cart. And if we go to our cart, as you can see, this would be the checkout process. We still got a whole bunch of other stuff that we need to pick up. And then my favorite, you get to pay with PayPal. I prefer doing that for websites I haven't shopped with for, so the fact they have PayPal, that works for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to browse on this some more, figure out what I can do to kind of stretch my $300, and when we come back, hopefully the stuff should be here and we'll be able to put a computer together. Almost 2 weeks later, and we got all our stuff. And I will say we had to sacrifice some stuff and skimp on other stuff, and yeah, but we were able to mostly meet our goal for $300. Now we did stick within the $300, but the thing about Temu's website is they don't sell power supplies, which might be a good thing depending on the quality of power supplies they sell, but it is a bad thing if you're trying to build your computer all on their website. It is what it is. So let's kind of jump into that real quick, and then we'll go into all this other stuff. So for the power supply, I stuck true. Stay. It's gonna fall. Come on. That stuff is really excited to become a computer. But anyways, so for the power supply, stuck true to my tradition, got on the Facebook Marketplace and picked up this EVGA 750B2. I've already tested it. It's an older flavor. It works. Paid $20 for it. And because of that $20, we're able to stick within our budget. And it has what we need. And to probably stay true to the cheap theme, ketchup and mustard flavored cablers. But anyways, let's take a look at this stuff. So let's go what's in this box. This is our graphics card. SOYO. Oh, I think I have it backwards. There we go. SOYO Monarch Dragon. It's kind of cool. Memory lane. I used to buy all SOYO motherboards back in the older days of computers. Kind of missed the company. And I got a RX 580. I believe this is the 8 gig flavor. And we'll open this up and take a look at that in just a bit. Now, when I sell a computer, typically I like to sell them with mouse, monitor, and keyboard. Unfortunately, I was not able to find a monitor for sale on Temu for like $20, $30. That's fine. That was to be expected, and I'd be stretching it a little bit if I was. But we were able to get a keyboard and mouse. Wireless keyboard and mouse. And to kind of give you a hint, it's green. It's going to match our case, and you'll see that in just a sec. Now, a lot of the stuff was shipped pretty good. I've opened it because I just wanted to make sure, number one, it is what it was supposed to be, and it didn't get damaged. So this is our motherboard. Pretty little, right? Yeah. So the product name, Shijishi, forgive me. I cannot pronounce that properly. Manufactured in there. I don't know. I can't even pronounce any of that stuff. So, yeah. It says keep out of reach of children. So if this gaming PC was for kids, do not put this motherboard near them. I get it. And it's Zen 3. Zen 3. Okay. NVIDIA socket. Okay. Yeah. I mean, let's just see what we got. Protection is pretty well. So in here, I'm going to assume this is going to be our CPU. Package, pretty nice. See what it says. Oh yeah. And we got a 2650 V4. Nice. I don't remember what the specs of this off the top of my head is. I'll post it on the screen, and of course we'll take a look at it as we see what this does and does not. We have instructions, X79 pair. I think that'd be fun to kind of just play around with the dual CPU action, and I might consider that in the future. If you want to see a video on that, let me know in the comments. I'm more curious for me. And it just kind of tells you what it supports. DDR4 memory up to 32 gigs frequency. That's kind of weird. I guess optional 2800 megahertz. Yeah, that's confusing to read. I guess it's just the way it translates. Let's see what we have. The memory that they give us, the same brand, Shijishi. DDR4, 8 gigs, 3200 megahertz, which is weird because according to this, it only supports up to 2800. Okay. It does have the back plate, SATA cable. Let's take a look at this motherboard. Yeah. I mean, what do you expect for $100? But it looks kind of cool. It's got M.2. That's what we need. So I think it'll be fine. Famous last words, maybe. So now moving on. Needed a cooler. This box had some action. Unfortunate. Hopefully it's not dented. I really didn't check that as good as I should. We got two fans. Looks like it's supposed to have some RGB. These fans are wired together. Okay. I'm really hoping that this will fit on the motherboard because I clicked the box for the 2011 or whatever this socket is, and I don't see no adapter. So I think we're running into our first problem, which is unfortunate. Yeah, how in the world? Yeah, it says socket 1700, 1200. I think they sent me the wrong one because I did click the box for the 2011. I believe that's what it is. Well, that's going to affect our build. But they do give us thermal paste, and if I'm being honest with you, I think it's dried up because it feels very hard in there. This might be a bust. Okay, so not everything's perfect. I'll have to check and see what I have in stock to see what will work with this. That's a bummer. So I assumed that I wouldn't have thermal paste, and just to kind of put in the budget, because that's something you're going to need, I bought thermal paste, or whatever you call this. It's gold, and that's one of the reasons why I bought it, because it's gold. It has, let's see, does it have any specifics on it? We got the spatula, information to user. They used to tell you, you know, apply it smooth. And I think this was like $2, so that's a lot for $2. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. I don't know. Now for our storage, EDILOCA, EDILOCA. I know loca means crazy in Spanish, so EDILOCA, Eddie crazy, Eddie, I don't know. It's 512, and it's a NVMe. Don't know too much specs about it, but we'll see. SSD, NVMe, super mute technology. I don't know what that means. Excellent performance, safe and reliable, environmentally friendly, but you can mute your NVMe. That's interesting. Hey, I think that was like $20. I'll go over the price of everything at the end of this video. It was all under $300, but I was looking at it recently, and some of the prices have gone up, some have gone down. So, all right, so let's get this case out of here. This case is like really small, really light, and really cheap. As far as price, as far as quality, we might be surprised. Went with green. And the reason behind it is because, well, it was the cheapest case I could find to stick within the $300 budget. And I've never built in a green case before, so we'll see how this experience is. Now, she's not the prettiest, and yeah. Can mount 2 fans up here, okay? And this is what you get. You can put an 80mm over here if you have to, which maybe we might have to entertain that. We'll just have to see where the temperature's at. But then again, we don't have a CPU cooler, so I'm gonna have to dig into my arsenal and see what I could come up with. That is concerning. No bueno. Let's see. Looks like this breaks off, so it could attach right over here. Okay, that's fine. Screws and standoffs. Yeah, sure. So now the biggest concern, which I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't really think about this. Does the graphics card fit? So I think we need to start there first. And it's a good opportunity now to see our graphics card and the glory of what it is. Monarch Dragon. Now, I went with the RX 580 because it was cheap, but also it's really a good graphics card. Now, this graphics card, I paid $80 for it. Keep this in mind. This is supposed to be new, and if it is actually a legit one, $80 for a new one. Should hold up. I mean, it's packaged pretty nice, but you can get these used for about $40 to $50 on eBay. So pick your poison. Do what you gotta do with a grain of salt, or something to that effect. Now this is all plastic. This heat sink, I am really curious on what the temperatures are going to be of this thing, folks. I'm just being honest with you. Heatsink feels a little cheap. It's got a white PCB, so that's kind of nice. I wish this would have been the all-white version. So it was like a $30 difference if you wanted it in all-white. So, of course, we went with the cheaper one. But the difference is that they use a white cooler for the $30 more and a black one for, well, this. Okay, so now, are we gonna be okay? Oh, this is gonna be, I think we're gonna be okay. It's gonna be tight, but it's gonna be okay. So I think the way we'll have to do it is pop it in here, twist it this way, not have the CPU cooler on, which that's gonna be interesting in itself. Slide it in, and make sure we have our front fans first. So we're gonna have to use a little bit of yoga to get this in. Computer yoga, folks. But we'll be okay. All right, so we've run into a few little issues, and I should have checked my package list because one, I did forget what I ordered, but number two, they sent me the wrong items. So we kind of had to adjust, but I will give Temu credit as they did right. They did right, but for the sake of time and the fact that they didn't have what I was looking for per se, well, not that they didn't have what I was looking for, I just didn't want to chance it again. I just went ahead and kind of did things the traditional way. And we'll talk more about that at the end, but let me tell you what's going on. So I did order the 2011 version of this cooler, and unfortunately, they sent me the wrong one, which is bummer. They sent me the one for the AMD sockets, it just looks like, because, you know, you got that retention thing and whatever. So that was $20. That was not cool. And then also, I was looking at it. Yes, this kit came with 8 gigs of memory, which is fine, but we want to have dual channel. And I think this thing has that quad channel. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to do research on that, but we at least want to have the dual channel. And I did order another stick of this, but they didn't send it to me. So the other 8 gig stick was $10. This was $20. This was $30. I reached out to them. I showed them a picture because anytime I get anything mailed to me, I take a picture of it as soon as I open it up, just to kind of, you know, have that street cred thing going on. They gave me 2 options, refund or replace it for the correct one. I requested the refund so we can actually move this video along and not drag it out because I'm anxious to see how well this thing works and don't work. So they gave me the $20 back for this, $10 back for this. I did get back on the Facebook Marketplace because I need these items to kind of keep tradition to what's cheap. But on a side note, I did get a slight better deal. Hear me out. So I found this Noctua one for $10. It's a little old, and yeah, but it will definitely work. Noctua for $10, that is going to be a lot better and probably quieter than that one. It doesn't have the RGB, but this is going to be the way to go. So pick that up for $10. Search for some memory, and I found this kit. 16 gigs, DDR4, PC21-2400. Looks like it came out of an HP pre-built, and I paid $20 for that. So we're still within the $300, and had they sent me the right stuff that they had, which it happens. I've had this happen with eBay, Amazon, and I'm not going to fault them for that. I'm not going to give them. Where I will give them credit is that their customer service was great, and they did do right by that, and I got my money back. But had that issue not happened, we still would have been on par. So now we have the correct cooler, our memory options, because I still would have had 16 gigs. This was 20, was this 3,000? No, this was 3,200, and I believe the other one was 3,200. So we're still on track. So let's get started, and let's start putting this thing together. All right, so for the motherboard, I haven't done one of these in a little bit. Well, it's been a couple of weeks, so just got to kind of remember. Just taking a look at it and even show you the rear I/O. We have 2, 4, 6 USBs. What flavor couldn't tell you. Ethernet, I think it's 10100 if I read that right. We got PS2, you know, you got that. And our audio, let's see what we got over here. The USB 3 flavor, which I'm not even sure if that case supports it. 3 SATAs, 24-pin CPU, and I think, yeah, CPU fan will go over here. We do have another fan header up here, which is for CPU fan 2. And I think that's all we got. So, yeah. On the side note, this thing got jumpers. I haven't seen that in a very long time. And a bonus, I just noticed this. We have a screw for our M.2. That's a win. Unlatch you. Unlatch you. Now let's match up our Legend of Zelda triangle, which I think it's right over here and this way. I think we should be fine. Now our memory. M.2, in you go. Nice crunch, as long as there's no snap. Now, over here it has this, which I guess it goes right there. So let's bend that. Okay. Pop in our I/O plate. And now we gotta try to squeeze this power supply in, which, oh boy. I am not really sure if we're gonna be able to put the fans. We might be able to put the fans over here. So now we got to figure out this fan thing. I think that nocturnal cooler is going to do more than enough getting us some coolness, but I think the other issue that we're going to run into is the graphics card might get a little toasty. We might just have to go with a regular fan. All right, so I found this fan. This should work. And we're still in the budget. We're only going to be able to put one. So it calls for two, but it's gonna be too tight with this power supply. Let's take our motherboard, slide it in just like so. Itty bitty guy. Now we do have to knock out these on the bottom, but I want to make sure I knock out the right ones. Let's take these, let's bend these out. Alright, so let's get this stuff plugged in. The top over here is CPU 2, and like I said, we're going to need an extension for that. Cable management is not going to be perfect. It's just going to be whatever we can do with what we got. And right now, this is how we're going to do it. It's just going to be tuck. A lot of tucking in this one. So this one is our audio, which goes right down here. This one is our USB, which is going to go right over here. So we got power, reset, hard drive. So side note, the front power switch, hard drive LED and all that stuff, they don't label it for you. I mean, it's standard, but if you're somebody that's not familiar with that, you might struggle. So the motherboard doesn't give you any instructions for that. It doesn't have the block pin. So you might have to look it up. All right, so we've got this. Everything is where it needs to be. Now we're gonna grab our graphics card. Slide this in, and hopefully it should fit. Ooh. This is not... Where am I stuck at? Maybe I have to take the memory out. That fan might be thicker than a traditional one, so might have to keep that in mind. Yep, that's the trick. There's a series of events to building this computer. Okay. We're getting there. So now let's plug our memory back in. I think what we're gonna do now is pop in, let's pop in our CPU cooler. Let's open up this lovely thermal paste. I'll be honest with you, I don't know much about it. It's gold. Here's the information. But it was cheap. Why not? I was just infatuated at the fact that it's gold. Now let's use the spatula and smear this nice. So now let's get these mounted just like so. I think it goes this way. So here's a side note. I went out and I purchased this stuff. Got on the Facebook Marketplace, like I said earlier. And then I'm going through my stuff that I have. I have 2 of these coolers lying around. I think it's time for inventory. It's good to have extra components, but at what point do you have too many? Let me know in the comments. Let's pop you in just like so. This is going to be easier, and even with the fan out, it's still a little tight. But there we go. Now let's put this back in place. All right, and finally, let's tuck this one up here. And let's run our 6-pin just like so. I think we should be okay. Yep. All right, we're done. So here comes the fun part. Does it work? Typically you want to do this outside of the case, motherboard box test bench, but I guess I like to gamble, I guess. So we got this thing set up. Power, keyboard. Let's fire it up. Oops, always forget. Alright, let's hit the DL button, get into the BIOS. Got the power LED, so I put that in right. Hey, we got a post. Let's move you guys in closer. Alright, so memory, 24 gigs. I thought that was 2 8 gigs. It might be a 16 and an 8 gig kit. Oops. Hardware. Okay, temperature 21 degrees Celsius, looking good. Fans, all right. That's a lot of stuff. Processor, 2.2 gigahertz. Whew. And I'm sure if we wanted to later on, we could put something a little more beefier, you know, a little more frequencies. But I think that'll be fine for now. A lot of stuff here I've never seen before. I'll have to go through that at another time. Not the worst BIOS, but it's got a lot of stuff. All right, let's just save what we have, and let's see if it boots off my thumb drive so we can install Windows 10. But so far we're doing good, and I'll be honest, I'm surprised it actually booted. All right, let me play around with these settings. Let's get Windows installed, drivers, games, all that type of good stuff, and when we come back, see how well this thing performs. So it's actually the next day, got all the drivers and everything installed. I was actually able to do that early last night, but had a couple other things the guy had to do. So anyways, moving on. Installation went smooth as can be. Installed Windows 10 with no issues. I did run into one glitch and hiccup, and this is a suggestion for this motherboard CPU combo. After installing Windows 10, it was running a little glitchy, laggy. It was just not running right, a little unstable. Went to Windows 10, and I'll post the screen up here to the updates area, and there was a ton of drivers that you had to I guess request Windows to install. Once I installed those drivers on the screen up here, this thing started running fantastic. I will admit, it is quiet. The temperatures are flipping amazing as idle, and I'll show you after the fact. On idle, we sit at like 30 degrees Celsius. The fans don't ramp up, so very impressed with that. Now this RX 580 is actually a different variant and flavor, so I'm actually going to do a separate video on this one, dissecting it, taking it apart, and just kind of showing how different it is. It's a different flavor, but there's some good and bad to it, and we'll go more into that in a later video. But moving on, I did take out the mouse and keyboard that I decided to order with it because we were not able to get the power supply on Temu, so saving the money from there, we just went ahead and got this mouse and keyboard. Really nice for $20. Matches, a little shiny, a little dull, but still looks pretty good. Overall, I mean, it's not terrible, it's not great, but it definitely gets the job done. It doesn't have the Windows key, but it has that key. Isn't that for Apple? I'd have to look it up. I don't know, not 100% sure. But you know, it has all the features for the volume, and if you skip to your music and all that stuff, works pretty good. It's not bad. So starting with our first game, Shadow the Tomb Raider. I'm gonna run at 1080p high settings. Let's run the benchmark and see what kind of FPSs we get. Also, see where our temperatures lie. So our performance, averaging 62 frames per second. I think the minimum on the GPU was like 50. The CPU minimum was 67, but still pretty smooth experience. Not too bad for 1080p, all high settings and everything like that. The RX 580 performing good as it should, and surprisingly, the temperature stayed manageable. Now, keep in mind that the panel is not open, but we do have a fan blowing fresh, cool air right through it, so I think that helps on it. So our temperature should stay within spec, but also I'm noticing that the fan curve on the GPU must be low from the factory, because you don't hear this computer at all while it's gaming. So that's a good thing. Another thing to keep in mind too, our CPU could be holding us back, because I mean, we're only boosting up to 2.9 gigahertz, 2200 on the base, so something to consider, but even though, not too bad. Let's move on to the next one. So we're playing the Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I've been playing this game a lot lately, and I really need to beat it. But anyways, so 1080p low settings, and we're already at the mid 30s. The game looks good though, I will say the game does look good, and I don't see any stutters. Let's see how we face off with these stormtroopers. Oh, that's not bad. Yeah, it's not bad. We're looking about 30 frames per second. Yeah, this is pretty playable. Of course, I'm getting beat up pretty good on it, but still, I'm not getting no stutters, and it looks pretty consistent. So considering how old this computer is and how well this thing is performing, not too bad. Definitely something to get your feet wet, and that's something I talk about with a lot of the builds that are older that I do, is that most times people just want to be able to get their feet wet, and 30 frames per second is decent enough to get you started, and then of course later on you can start upgrading and choose your poison later on. But oh yeah, I could definitely play this game all day long like this. Not too bad. And I'm sure if somebody else who was getting into the realm of PC gaming, they too would enjoy this. I think like the Switch, isn't the Switch like 30 frames per second for something like that? So yes, ideally we want higher frames per second, but still this looks good, it feels good, not too bad, nice and quiet. And I will say, like, compared to the PlayStations and stuff like that, I mean, this is silent. One thing I always did not enjoy about console gaming was just how the fans ramped up, but hey, this works pretty good. So checks the boxes are good, no complaints, and definitely enjoyable. So let's give you my thoughts on it. Before we go into the price and best bang for the buck, overall this PC performs very well. Very happy with the size, how sleek it is, how quiet this machine is, and considering the performance, it's pretty decent. We're able to play the Star Wars, Shadow the Tomb Raider. I'm sure if we threw some Fortnite and other games, this thing would play fantastic at 1080p settings. We got enough memory, got enough CPU power for now, and considering all that, it's not too bad. Now, building in this case, it is a little tricky, as you have to plan ahead. As you saw during the build, you have to first put in the graphics card, then the memory, then the CPU. So you just have to get used to that order, and that's typical with small cases like that. And obviously this power supply is a little too big for the case, but if we went with something a little smaller, it would give us more room, so we could even put another fan, have two 120s, and that would help it a lot. Now, another thing moving forward, and I do plan to hold on to this for a while, I'm definitely going to consider putting a, I think it's either 80 or 92 millimeter fan. Probably have to run a splitter, as we only have two fan headers, and that would actually help exhaust some of the heat. The temperatures are great, but why not maximize what I have? Now, this graphics card has me curious. It is a different flavor compared to the typical RX 580s. The ones I usually get, the temperature is a lot hotter. This one seems to perform a little better than them, and it's a lot cooler in reading on it. And like I said, I'll do a separate video. It is a different variation, but I definitely would like to take it apart, put some better thermal paste. I don't know what kind it has, see if we can even work with the temperatures a little bit, but still pretty cool card. Now, as far as the memory, It is a 16 gig and an 8 gig, so it is 24 gigs. It is DDR4 3200. We are running the dual channel. I'm not 100% sure if this supports the quad channel. That might be a separate video in itself. It probably does. I know X99 did have the quad channel, but there's not a lot of information on this board. I'd actually have to go into the forums and read more about people's experience on it. But considering this CPU and board combo performs very well, temperatures are low, the heat sinks, I mean, I'm not getting any, like, I'm touching the heat sink for the VRM and all that stuff, and I mean, it's cool to the touch, warm if anything, but I'm not getting no extreme temperatures. I'm not getting excessive heat radiating from it, so this thing, it's actually pretty decent, I would say. Now, as far as the CPUs, I'd also have to research that to also see what other flavor of CPUs that we could pop in there. I'm sure we could get something to get a little more speed out of it, so maybe something to consider. So with all that being said, it is actually pretty decent computer. There is some room for upgrade, more memory, CPU, better graphics cards. But now let's talk about the bang for the buck and the Temu experience. So as far as shopping on Temu, pretty easy, very self-explanatory, nothing much to it. They did send me the wrong CPU cooler. I reached out to them, they refunded my money. That was simple and easy. That was a quick couple of hour turnaround. So that is fantastic in itself. As far as the memory, they didn't send me the memory that I had ordered. They refund that, and then I was able to take that and actually get the stuff that we did need to finish this build. So my shopping experience on Temu, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Happy with that, no complaints. The mistake that was made as far as the wrong items, that's happened to me on eBay, Amazon, can't fault them for that. So overall, Temu is not specifically for computers. They sell everything on there. Like I said, we couldn't get the power supply on there, so we had to go the Facebook Marketplace route and pick that up. They do have some different and unique cases and hardwares and different brands, and I don't know, you might find something that might suit your fancy. Prices, they're just back and forth. I mean, you're gonna have to do your homework. There's no perfect place to buy a computer. Do your homework, do your research, ask questions. I think PC part picker or price charting like that, that's a good reference for that. But overall, good shopping experience, pretty cool computer, definitely happy with it, and just something else to consider in case you're out there shopping for computers. So thank you for Temu for allowing me to do this video. And what you guys can do is comment down below, let me know your thoughts, concerns, criticisms, your experience with the X99, your experiences with Temu, and do you really think this computer is worth $300? I want to get your opinion about it. You've heard mine. Let's see what you think. If you like this video, definitely hit the like button, subscribe if you're not, and as always, we'll see what we come up with next.